All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this Tuesday. As always, on Tuesday, it's a post Traders Talk edition here of our afternoon meeting. Great to see all of us live inside the Cyber Group. Perhaps a few of us rejoining us heading into this Tuesday afternoon. Great to see Chuck from before. We have Gary, Will, and all of us rejoining us right now inside the Cyber Group room. Hey, if you're joining us on social media as well, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back as well, folks. We have a lot to talk about in little time. We have the Phase 3 stock course finishing up today. That'll be lesson number 4 right at 3:05 Eastern Time. So we'll look to post the link for that class coming up pretty shortly. Without further ado, let's go right through it, folks. CLSN on the screen to begin. Climbing up the gainers list as we begin this meeting, at least. So it's at the highs right away. This just goes on the watch list. Need to be careful for a stock like this, though. I know Chuck called out NRGV earlier, or NGRV. He's in from 2075, I think, and that was from about 2 o'clock. Or, listen, the thing ended up dumping off. It's still kind of flat, shaking around. I'm just more talking about the spread or the lack of liquidity that's out there on the book. Getting in there at the right place just at the wrong time could be very costly. So this stock is marching on up, making a really good push with great reason. It will go on the top of our watch list. Just saying, be mindful of a false breakout, especially live right now, as this is testing the next whole number level at $7. A whole number price like 6, 7, 8. Those are going to be iceberg levels likely. So live right now, just be careful at 7 here on the CLSN. All right, so that's number 4 on the gainers list. What we'll do is go from top to bottom typically here, and we'll just scan the market. We'll talk about a couple of stocks that we ended up trading from earlier today, or perhaps that we weren't allowed to trade from earlier today. If you're on TradeStation, TradeStation actually prevented trading. They restricted trading on this SBFM stock. So this is where we could at least say, and I know, emotions come into play. You might see it run up and you get pissed off that you can't trade it and you're kind of griping on that, as there are other stocks to follow. Easy to say, but you can't cry over spilt milk. We weren't allowed to trade this stock, at least if you're on TradeStation. Perhaps if you're on Webull, Thinkorswim, Fidelity, Interactive Brokers, we're not exclusive to TradeStation, but at least personally on my platform, wasn't allowed to trade it. Looks like I didn't miss too much, at least on the trade. Ended up dropping off shortly after 10 o'clock. It failed to break higher and ended up ultimately breaking under previous resistance at 622. So we talked about that in Traders Talk, our weekly Q&A workshop that we hosted earlier this morning. Listen, it ended up making a nice little bounce from 5 here. Is it possible for it to break out of this range and finally begin to make the run that we hoped for earlier? Yeah, it's possible, but unless if a stock is at the highs, pardon me there, unless if a stock is at the highs or at the lows, I wouldn't be as keen to follow it here for the afternoon. You always hear me say that. So, I'll skip over this trade for right now. The ANGH stock, whew, new high of the day right now in our face. Jeez, this thing ended up making a nice pop earlier going into 2 o'clock. Pop from like 11.50, $12. Topped off at the time just over 14.50. And right now in our faces, a brand new HOD, a big pop. Broke over 15, whole number, actually shot up as high as 15.65 before coming back down. This thing is all over the map in terms of liquidity. So, listen, I'll put it on our list, but if we're kind of comparing apples to oranges here, CLSN had a lot more liquid of an order book, and even that one had a fluctuating spread. So, got to be super careful on this ANGH trade. You can say the same on that NGRV stock that perhaps we'll jump back to if we need to. All right, CLSN already on the list. DDL, not looking too bad right now. More of an afternoon run up from like 1 o'clock Eastern, bounced off at 6. Trying to break out of the 650 resistance for right now. It's pretty trying to get back, trying to get close to the highs again. High of the day across the trading session is at 690, so still is about 40 cents to get there, but it's marching on up right now. It's trading a lot of volume a minute right now, about 50 to 60,000 shares a minute, just give or take on average. So for right now, I don't mind it. I'll put it towards the bottom of our watch list probably by the end of it all. Definitely goes on the list. Let's just see what we have here in the meantime. A bunch of stocks, low volume or too inexpensive for us otherwise here. So we'll kind of just skip over those. FGF trading under 1 million shares, so it's not a lot. Spotty chart too. We'll pass on this one here. Here's Chuck's NRGV, hopefully to make a new high right now. It's still kind of holding pretty close to its highs, so I'll come back to this at the end, the tail end here. All right, GGRO spotty. Just going to move away from this one. GFAI was a nice trade from earlier today. It's made a nice little bounce heading into the late morning, early afternoon. And, for what it's worth, pushed up pretty nicely for about 25 cents off support. It's trying to get back up there now, right? So similar line of thinking, at least as the DDL trade. This one even a bit more tamed, even. So I'll put this on our list too. GFAI, I don't mind it. A and Y. This thing's garbage right now. All right, let's see what else we got. Skimming across the gainers list, market ended up dropping off shortly after 10 o'clock this morning, folks, and it's still kind of at the lows. So today, at least, I'm sure we'd find a little bit more on the losers side, right? Just gonna go down the gainer side to wrap up. NAT. I think this is a tanking stock, tanker oil shipping stock. Just flat right now. It had a little run in pre-market here. Bull pass. ALLG at last here. Then we'll hop over to the loser side. ALLG had a nice move from earlier this morning, but as you can see now, garbage. All right, let's hop on over to the losers list, folks. Got a few stocks down big. They're hard to borrow, but we'll at least check them out. The nuts trade, I think that we ended up seeing make this flash run up yesterday. What goes up comes back down. We always say it to you, folks. What makes the percent gainers list one day very often makes the percent losers list the next day. And if it's not the next day, well, it's probably the day after that. So, with this ended up dropping off even from the after hours last night into the pre market. I think this got halted right away at the open here and then just has been a mess. The CGNT trade is shortable, is easy to borrow, and I'll tell you, this is a nice trend to work with here for the afternoon. You have support at 801, about 12, 13,000 shares there at 801. I'm assuming there's also going to be some volume at $8, but as a short, CGNT definitely goes on our watch list here. Actually, while I have you here, let me just check the news. This would be probably the only time that I'd be able to check the news myself. So CGNT. Why is this stock down over 30% today? And why is it still down 30% right now? Looks like they ended up reporting worse than expected Q4 EPS and sales results. No mentioning of lowering guidance. But nonetheless, it's the earnings headline that takes it. Nice drop off today. And again, it's at the lows. So for a stock at the highs or at the lows, those are the stocks I'm more keen to follow here at this time. Novavax, NVAX, this thing's been getting whacked today. Jeez. Big drop off shortly after the market opened up, 74 down to, well, here. Pretty expensive trade. If we have a bunch of these vaccine stocks at the lows right now, I'd probably want to focus on the cheapest one of those that I'd be able to short. That might be NVAX here, actually. There's no headline. There's no headline as to why NVAX is down as much as it is. It literally says from Benzinga, not seeing any company-specific news to justify the price action. That's their phrase for it. So, you know what? I'll keep this on the side for right now. I assume that means that it's not vaccine related. I don't think mRNA is down as much, or CODX, VXRT, OCGN, all those vaccine stocks that we ended up trading over the last 6 to 12 months. LAC, though, for as much as this ran up from the end of last week into this week, hey, it's at the lows right now, too. It'd be hard to not put this on our watch list as well. LAC down big at the lows. DIDI. It is shortable. Nah, it's a little too slow, though, for us right now. It's like really flat here. All right, folks, I'll tell you what, I know there's a lot more that's down big, but no other real familiar names that are down more than 9 or 10% here. If there are any, I skipped over them, to be truthful. So if there are any that you see that are up or down, perhaps down more than 5%, type it in the chat board. Just let me know here. Let me know here pretty quick. From Mitch, ANGH, not the nicest spread. So that was perhaps from earlier. Yeah, we caught that before. I'll just check back in on that trade right now. Wow, pushed over 15 pretty nice. Topped off for right now at 1680. before pulling back down really quickly, at least to give you, a level or a potential level at least to follow on this trade. 1846, the high back from February of 22, 1831, 1794. It's not as close. 1775, not as close. 1832 here. I'm thinking around an 1850 that we have a historical top. I say around because it's not going to be exactly at that price, give or take like 20 cents. But between 1830 to 1850, I'm led to believe that that could be a range of resistance to work with on this trade. CPTN from Bobby on YouTube. Looks good. Looks good. Now, as soon as we finish up this meeting, if this thing comes right back down and crashes, take it off the list because hey, we finished up this meeting yesterday at this time, and I'll tell you, not a lot of the stocks that we left this meeting off with ended up making a great move after. So I always say to our students inside this trading room, you always start and stick with what we put out. But hey, at 3 o'clock, when Rich jumps back on the mic for you folks, Rich L, it's to say that if nothing is really moving out of that list at 3 o'clock Eastern time, yeah, then at that point you look to scan around, work together as a team inside the trading room to try and find some other runners that we weren't as focused on at this time. All right, so CPTN for right now has the looks of a move, but again, just be careful of a pullback on this one. All right. I think that just about does it. Let me just take a quick look here on Benzinga Pro, just catching up with anything I may have missed. Smile Direct Club. Nah, this thing's garbage. CLVS from earlier ended up making a nice move up to 3. It's actually bouncing back up there right now. So, you know what? Doesn't hurt us to put CLVS on our watch list again. It's up over 7% right now, is up more than that earlier and trying to make the squeeze back up to 3. So be on the lookout for yesterday's high off 309. That could be a potential level. Just look to follow what's out there on the order book. All right, so folks, with the market dropping off a little bit here, not going to do a full in-depth review, but Bitcoin, it's hanging in there. Ended up actually making a great bounce just from the end of yesterday's meeting. I told you folks that over the next 1 to 2 days, I'd be kind of monitoring this closely. And if it really failed to, show signs of life going up, I'd likely scale out half my position. Haven't done it yet. Ended up making a great bounce going into the end of yesterday. So there's no reason to get out just yet. But now at this point, we need to see the higher lows, and more importantly than anything with Bitcoin, we got to make sure this breaks right over this big volume price level here off 46,700. And that was just on a 15-minute chart. There's a couple of other bigger volume levels for this that it needs to crack over, but right around 46.7, ultimately 47 flat. That's where I'd need to see Bitcoin really begin to hold above. But, we'll kind of take this over the next 24 to 48 hours, as I said yesterday. All right, SBFM Pop. Uh-oh. That one I didn't put on the list yet, but I think I said I'd come back to it. Yeah, definitely right now. Just made a really good blast right above that resistance that we kind of identified here off 560-ish. Looks good. All right. William says, and the warrant too. I would not look to trade the warrant. The warrant's on a 15-cent spread, Will. Opportunity cost, folks. Don't blow up your accounts trading something this illiquid. It makes 0 sense to do that. You're going to have a much easier time following this right here. I swear to you, please. I don't drop the G word often. I guarantee you're going to have a much easier time following the stock compared to the warrant. So do not look to trade the warrant, please. All right. But for all of us otherwise, and including this stock, this will be a great runner, hopefully taking us into the market close. But, aside from SBFM, we have this plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other stocks to work with. So I feel like it's a pretty good list, but we'll find out what happens going into the next even 10, 15 minutes, see if these stocks can continue the momentum that they have right now. For all of us on Facebook Live, YouTube, last housekeeping note before we finish up. I know that later on today, right at 4 o'clock Eastern time, as we typically do every Tuesday, Fausto Fausto will be doing an introductory to day trading webinar. So if you wanted to join his class for that, just make sure that you go right down to the link on the yellow banner below. And I'm talking to all of us on YouTube and Facebook Live. For all of us live inside the trading room, I am certain that you've seen one of these webinars in the past. If you wanted to support Fausto, watch it this afternoon. We'll post the link for you folks just at the very end of our day. But for all of us on Facebook Live and YouTube right now, if you wanted to register for Fausto's event later on at 4:05 Eastern Time, just go right down to the link on the banner below. And if you can't make it live, at least register, and that way at least you can receive the recording. All right, for Will, John, Grant, Mark, all of us live in the trading room right now, let me just post and tweet the picks. And then from there, I know that Rich will jump on the mic right around 3 o'clock. Talk to you soon.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it.